why you keep going crooked, but you know, I'm trying. So so yesterday I decided I would take her out a little bit, and I wanted to listen to music, so I didn't record anything. And she got hot, real hot, like frying egg hot. Probably worse than that, to be honest. But anyway, so that heater cord had been leaking, and she got low on water, and then that started getting her warm, and then I kept driving trying to get her home, and then that made it worse. So I've got her all filled up with water again. And you know, I know you're thinking, just bypass the heater cord. Yeah, I'm going to. I actually want to get shutoffs for it, and that's what I'm waiting on. I get the shutoffs, and then I will just shut it off. And then this winter, I could figure it out. I might dig into it before winter, but you know, I don't know about you, but I tend to procrastinate a little bit. So anyway, that one brake is still not happy. I thought it sounded pretty good yesterday, but I had music on, so maybe not. But anyway, so this is just a little shakedown run to see if she stays at temperature or if she goes nuts and gets hot. And you know what? Okay, so that's another thing that I don't know if affected her getting hot or not. So somebody removed the heat riser. So on these stock 350s back in this day era, underneath the right side exhaust manifold, but between it and the exhaust pipe was a little valve, and that valve would, I believe spring open, which makes sense, you know, and then vacuum close. So it had a little thermostatic vacuum switch on the top of the thermostat. Okay, so the top of the thermostat housing, and then it has a couple vacuum lines that went to it, and one of them come from the carburetor and went to that heat riser. So when that thermostatic switch is cold, then it was flowing vacuum. So you would start the car, it would get vacuum, it would close that valve, and then that would force exhaust to not go through that exhaust pipe on the right side. It would force it to go across the intake through an exhaust passage, and then make it go out the left exhaust, and it would do that until it got warm. When it got warm, then it would shut the vacuum off via that thermostatic switch, and then the spring would push that back open, and then it would be full dual exhaust. Or if you floored it and you lost vacuum, then that would also lose vacuum, and when it lost vacuum, then it would use, the spring would overcome the pressure and it would open up. So yeah, I'm about to hit operating temperature right now. So I may go down this next road. I don't know. I'm not super nervous about it. It was doing really good about its temperature, so I assume it was just low on water. The thermostat could be hanging up on it sometimes, but I have not changed that, which maybe I should. I mean, who knows how old that thermostat is? It's probably the original thermostat. It could have been changed in its life sometime or another, but something I should probably think about. I mean, it's like a $10 insurance policy, you know. Buy it, and and then you know it's good. So again, steam on the window from the heater core that I'm too stupid to go ahead and bypass, but you know, I should. But anyway, so yesterday when I overheated, when I got home, I noticed I had that flipped down and it had flipped back up, so that was forcing exhaust all the way across the manifold, which, you know, isn't great for performance, but also I would, in my mind, would make the engine not cool as well, because it's, you know, trying to heat it up, it's trying to heat the intake, it's trying to heat the fuel, blah blah. So, you know, not sure that would create all the issue, but I think it was just a couple of things all together. So what you've seen me do was I showed you a magnet, because I was trying to figure out a way to wire this thing open, and what I ended up coming up with is I have a welder in the shop, and I've got a couple little magnets I use to hold stuff together, this and that. So I took one of those magnets, put it down on the frame rail, and it will not come off, it won't fall off, don't worry about that. It is one tough magnet, and it had a bolt through it, and I hooked a spring to that, hooked a spring to my lever, and am holding that valve open so it doesn't close. And that is not the permanent fix, but you know, it's a fix for the moment. So I'm gonna go left because I'm still looking pretty good on temperature. Sorry. That was unnecessary of me, but necessary at the same time. Because I don't know about you guys, but you know, I like to drive my cars, so you got to give them a little bit of fuel and let that run. I'm creeping up just above 190. She's holding pretty good at the moment. That's about where she should be at. That's where she's been hanging out anyway. So my next option, if this doesn't work, is flushing the radiator and changing the thermostat. And I'd probably do all that at once because, you know, it's just easier that way. And I would also get those shutoffs and shut off my heater core so I don't have that problem. And I really like those shutoffs. They're handy dandy to have. Anyway. And then, you know, there could be a couple of little problems, but it wouldn't seem to active. But I started doing a little longer drives, this and that. But I replaced the manual fan with an electric fan. I do not know the CFM of the electric fan. I set it up as a puller. I really prefer to set fans up as pushers. I don't really know why. It just seems better to me. But anyway, you know, when you look at electric fans, this one was used, blah, blah. Guy didn't know much about it. They can be, you know, 1500 CFM. They can be 4000 CFM. So, you know, it's hard to say. But anyway, so it could need a better electric fan. In the long run, what I would really like to do, of course, would be an aluminum radiator and an electric fan to boot, and that would just take care of those two problems all at once. My radiator is, you know, 46 years old, and you know, it's not got a crap ton of miles on it, but it's set a lot. Setting equals gunk equals plugging stuff up, blah blah. I did have, I should say, a little leak on the radiator, but it seems to have sealed itself up thanks to the gunk, and you know, and it could have just been the heat. I don't know. Old brass radiators, they do some weird shit sometimes. But But anyway, so yeah, I'm right about 200. I feel like she's just going to continue to climb a little bit, but that's okay. Because if that's the case, I just know what my next step is. You know, I got to order a few things. No big deal. Like my ultimate goal with this car would be, I would probably never do like a hot rod power tour, but I would want it to be capable of that, which requires a really good cooling system because, you know, to be honest, I didn't make it perfect because I want to drive it. I would like to take it on a vacation, you know, get the AC set back on it like it used to have when it was new, and if it's nice out, have the windows down. If it's hot out, roll those windows up, turn the AC on, and, you know, cruise to wherever, and you know, just have fun. That's like the best thing ever. So, is that the same truck we seen a second ago? It looks like the same one we seen around the block. I'm almost positive it is. I could be wrong. I mean, they made more than one black Ford Ranger. If that's him, he knows this is the same white Avanti he saw, because he's been like, what the hell is that? So, yeah. So let's see here. You know, about 210, 215, it just continued to creep up a little bit. So, I'm on the route home. I was coming down through here the other day in a car, and there was 3 cows running down the side of the road right here. Of course, it's the dairy farm right here on the right. I knew they belonged to the dairy farm, so I hurried up to his driveway and then herded them through his fence there into his parking gravel lot there. And as I pulled up, I honked the horn like mad, so they would come out and help get their cows put up. So yeah, they had 3 of them get out on them the other day. And the next day I got home, and his wife had made me some homemade fresh cinnamon rolls and left them on the porch for us, and they were flat amazing. And that's called Midwest living, you know. I mean, I don't know, you know, I mean, a cow to slaughter is worth a couple $1,000, so, you know, I don't know what his dairy cows are worth, but they were young ones. So, you know, still ought to be worth, you know, $2,000. So I help them save $6,000 worth of animals, and I get fresh cinnamon rolls. It's really a fair trade in my book. It was really good, because I would have done it without the cinnamon rolls. That doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm creeping up just about to 230. You can see the heat coming off the dash there. Oh boy. Yes. I'm glad she's not fixed. If she was fixed, what would I do? I wouldn't have to work on her, you know? So, that'd have been a crying shame. That's just what it is here. Hang on a second, I'm rolling my window up. Let me stab you off here. There we go. So here I am, back from vacation. We come home early. We had to address some storm damage because some storms rolled through while we were on vacation, and I'm completely exhausted. I spent all day yesterday cutting up trees, and after that I had to go get hay for the herd and get it all put away. So yeah, I'm tired. I really want to just sit around all day in the AC, but I come out here. I'm going to drain the radiator on Elvira and I'm going to start getting her flushed out. I got some parts coming. I'm going to replace the thermostat. I'm going to put the heater hose shut-off valves on, which is a good idea for anybody that's got a classic car. You put the heater hose shut-off valves on, then in the summertime you shut that dude off. You don't have any kind of coolant running through your heater core, and keep some heat out of your car, especially if you don't have AC, and it helps out. But anyway, I can't remember what else I got coming. That's about it. I mean, that's the majority of this stuff. But I'm going to get it drained out, and we'll see what the coolant looks like. I did notice that she's showing she's low again. I filled her up right before I left. There's none in the oil, so I'm assuming she's just burping down through the block. So she might not need flushed out, but I'm going to. I'll just flush her out, and then it takes care of that problem. If flushing out and a thermostat and getting her all full of fluid doesn't fix her, then it'll be time to start looking at a radiator, or could possibly throw the clutch fan back on, because I did go to electric fan. Maybe it's just not big enough, but probably said all this before and I'm saying it again. But anyway, so yeah, give me a minute. I'll get a pan and we'll start draining this thing. So that is the petcock on the radiator. We will just open that dude up and see if she'll drain out. And I got nothing. So that's a bonus. Bonus. I don't know if you guys heard that or seen that, but what I did was I took the radiator cap off and just blew some air down the hose to blow the gunk out of the bottom of that petcock. I don't know if you've ever seen antifreeze, but antifreeze is a nice shade of green, and you can tell that this is not so green. So yeah, it's a nice shade of brown. So flushing it out's not going to be a bad idea. You know, you see people, they just pop a radiator hose off and go. I like to do it a little bit different, and what I would consider more right, I guess, and use the petcock and get some of it drained out without making a big mess. Because, you know, flushing it out, I don't have no choice but to lose some of it in the driveway or somewhere. But you know, I try to collect as much as I can. This stuff isn't good for the environment, so make sure I get all the drained out I can. So anyway, we'll let that drain for a little bit and go from there. So I got as much drained out of it as I can. It looks like crap. I'm going to go ahead and pull the air cleaner here, which is also looking like crap because it's got stuff all over it. And this is where your thermostat's located. So I'm going to pull the thermostat and see if it's stuck. And what I'm going to end up doing is gutting the thermostat. I'll show you that. And that way, while I flush him, he can flush the whole block and everything. And we'll just see if we can get it all knocked out and pretty. So anyway, here we go. I'm getting somewhere. That is the thermostat housing removed. You can see all this gunk. Look at that. That's just gunk. So yeah, the system needs flushed out. I won't be able to make it work right, but if I can get everything flushed out good but the radiator, then I'll be okay. There's some stuff in the top of the thermostat housing. So yeah, I'm going the right direction. I'd say the thermostat got all hung up on this crap, and that's why she was overheating. So, you know, that's old car stuff, man. These guys out that's been setting forever, and it's hard to say if somebody had hoses off of it, a mouse crawled up in there and made a nest, or anything like that. You know, when I got it, people had worked on it, and man, I always look at cars and I'm like, man, what has been done to that thing? And especially on Facebook Marketplace, when I'm looking at cars, I'm like, you know, you see a pretty good deal on. I'm just an 85 Camaro. Okay, no, let's go 86. 86, because 86 would have been tuned port injected. 85 would have had that junky carburetor on it. So, you know, it's an 86 Camaro, it's tuned port injected, and they say, oh yeah, it's got a 350 in it. Well, they come out with 305. So did somebody put a 350 in it, or does somebody just not know what you're talking about? And then you see that it no longer has the tuned port injection on it, and all the dash lights are on and all that. So that's all stuff you got to deal with. And so then you got to run through your head the gamut of how much stuff's been messed with, how many wires have been cut, you know, because there's hardly a car out there that somebody hasn't been into at one time or another. And you know, so I'm just gonna keep digging on this and see if I can make this thing run cool and drive cool. And it looks pretty cool. I will tell you that one run that I need to buff out on the fender, gosh, that thing's gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to buff it out. It'll look good going down the road, but you know, see if you can see it. Can you see it? You can. It's right there, and it starts way back here, and that's the last coat of clear. And I was in a hurry because I had that dry spot on the hood where the bug got in it, but you know, still got a dry spot on the hood. It needs buffed out too. I could spend a day buffing this car, but you know what, I don't want to. I don't know if you guys ever watch Junkyard Digs. They've buffed a couple cars out, and it's not fun. I need to hire Kevin's dad to do that for me, because I don't like it. All right, so the thermostat's out. Thought I should show you this. Think that could be an overheating problem? No, not a problem at all. Son of a gun. That may be the crustiest thermostat I've ever seen in my life. Gosh, that is crazy. So that's forcing it out the bottom. But I sure would have thought it would have flowed a little better than that, so that makes me a little nervous about the radiator. It is flowing good clean water now out of the whole thing. I don't see a lot of grass here, but this is actually a gravel parking place that needs re-gravel. But let's see, look back here, see the magnet's still there holding my valve open. So that's almost exactly where it needs to be. I'm just kind of letting it run down the back. It'll be all right. I'll clean my intake up more. But yeah, that's not horrible. Plugged off the air hose again. You can see it picked up how much it was putting out, so that's not bad. I'm going to move it all the way to just the block. I know it doesn't look like it, but yeah, all that over there is gravel too. Used to be enough for 2 cars. Trying not to get my phone too wet here. How'd you get your phone wet? Oh, flushing a radiator. You know, 'cause that's what rednecks do. We do weird shit. looks pretty clean coming out. I don't know if I can get that dude in there to let it run or not. That'd be nice. It would stay there. There we go. Yep, that didn't work. Let's try again. Look at that. There we go. Whew. All right. Got dust blowed all over the back of my car. So there you can see the gravel. Gravel, 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 gravel. I think it was pretty well empty on antifreeze. There's just any kind of little residual crap around, so it shouldn't be too bad. Let's look at here. Yeah, you can still see it's getting crap out of there because it is kind of brown yet. It's been running about 5 minutes, and now she's all clear. So I'm going to reposition this hose in that a little bit to see if I can make sure it's getting both sides of the block, and I think it is, but you know, we'll make sure. And then I'll probably put the cap back on and just put water through the hose. So I got it flipped. The water did get more brown, so just gonna let it run and get the other side of this block flushed out the best I can. And already put the radiator cap back on. I'll be ready to flush the radiator. I don't think I'll see much out of that. I think it's going to be pretty good because it was looking pretty good before. But, you know, we'll see. I don't think I can set you guys up to see that very well without taking my hand off this hose and going to get in the tripod and all that stuff. So we'll see here in a second. I'll try to lean you up out here somewhere and see if I can make it work. All right. It's looking pretty good out that side. So now we go this way. Trying to hold back as much pressure as I can to put as much pressure as I can on it and not put any water down my carburetor. But yeah, that's all staying clean. So So, I don't know what you guys like to do, but I don't like to buy the pre-mixed antifreeze. I don't really know why. I just feel like it's a better deal to buy what they now call concentrate, which used to just be antifreeze, because you always had to mix it before. And you know, if you look on the back here, it'll tell you, you know, what your ratio is, blah blah. I generally start off just mixing 50-50, which is really like a -34. Yeah, -34. So yeah, and then the boil over protection is 265. So, but that is not counting the pressure of your system, because when you pressurize your system, that's what the pressure cap's for. For every 1 pound of pressure, you gain 7 degrees of Fahrenheit before it boils over. So you could actually use water and you know, let's say a 10-pound cap and be the same boil point as just straight antifreeze, but you don't want to do that because that will scrap out your system pretty bad just running straight water. Look at boat motors. But anyway, so I generally try to save a jug. This is my last jug because I try to, like the antifreeze I collected yesterday, I put in old jugs and I take it to the recycle center. I do the same thing with my oil. You know, I was a professional mechanic for a long time, so I tried to collect as much crap as I could because I put a lot out there and it can't all go in the ground by no means or another. So, you know, you got to take it somewhere that will try to recycle it. So, yeah. So this is my last little jug, and the only reason it didn't go is because it's got a little bit in it. But so here I have a gallon of water. So I'll take and I'll pour this dude about half full if it doesn't fall on me. I want you to check this out here in a second. This is what we drink. 0%. So there's no milk in that at all. 0% milk. I know you're gonna say it's the fat content. I understand, but anyway. Yeah. So this says it is good for all makes and models. We will find out, because it looks like it's red to me, and I don't like the red stuff generally. Generally it's yellowish, but also my system is empty, so you know, as long as I stick with all make and model. Damn, did you see what I did there? Damn it. But all make and model or the red, then I should be good. You don't want to mix the red and the green together most of the time, because the red and the green will coagulate. They don't mix. They don't mix. So I got that done. I'll put a little here, and this will give me 2 gallons of antifreeze, which ought to pretty well do my system. I might have to add a little water to it, but it'll still be safe for winter around here. Boop, boop, boop. This one will be full. This one will be mostly full, 3/4. I got a little carried away on that one. I gotta get this stuff off here. I don't mind it so bad in here, but you know. I really need to tape all this up and paint my firewall black. But alright, so there's my antifreeze that I shall not be using yet, because before I do that, I need to put in my heater hose shutoffs. So let me get them. They're over by you. Hear that? So here's my little heater hose shutoffs. I'm going to put one in each hose. Boop, boop. And then I can shut that heater core off, and it can be off all summer when it's hot out and I'm not running any hot water through my entry compartment at all. And this will flow just fine. And then they are currently closed, which is what I want. So then in the winter time, I just open them up, and then I got heat after I fix my heater core, of course. So now the next thing is I need to cut those guys. This one looks like he'll have a little bit of fluid in him maybe, but the rest of it will be pretty empty. That's one thing I did not think about, was I could have a little green antifreeze up in here yet, but we'll see what happens. I could get a big knife, or I could get side cuts, and I chose side cuts. This looks like a good spot for my hose. Look at that. Oh yeah, That's nice right there. All right, and I'll just put them right here next to each other. Like I said, that one might have a little bit left in it, and it do. I was careful not to raise him up so he would get down in the motor. So I don't know how much green antifreeze can cause havoc, but you know, we'll see. This could be a mistake, but we'll learn together. And you know, years from now, if it's all good, then you know, we'll know. Yeah, you just flush your system. You can use red, no issue. Okay, so these guys just clamp in place. Deposit that on the floor. Let me get my trusty dusty socket and ratchet. All right, now I'm going to hook this up. I'm going to put you guys in fast forward, and I'm going to put that lower radiator hose on, and then I'll slow you down. So I'm not going to. I'm going to put the lower radiator hose on, and I'm going to put maybe a funnel in the top of the engine. I'm going to fill the engine full before I put the thermostat and housing on. That's because my thermostat doesn't have a little jiggle ball on it. I like the thermostats that have a little jiggle ball. So, you know, it should pass water, you know, I don't want to say just fine, but eventually get all the air out of the system. But they got the little jiggle ball in them, they do it better. I could drill a tiny little hole in it, but since I got it all apart, I think I'm just going to fill the engine all the way up to the bottom of the thermostat, and then I'll put the thermostat on, and then I'll start filling in from the top, and then it won't be much of an air pocket. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm going to do. So you guys are going to go on fast forward. So I will show you what I'm talking about here with my thermostat. Boop, boop, that big hole down there. So so yeah, and then my thermostat itself, see, it's just got a little jiggle ball, but it'll leak a little air around it and a little air around those guys, but it looks a lot better than the old one, don't you think? So anyway. So I got that dude all full. Set my thermostat down in there and try not to make a mess. Everything around my gasket housing is dry. So I'm gonna take some good old RTV and put it on my gasket with my finger, because apparently, as evolved humans, we have not found a better way to do this yet. So yeah, we just use our fingers and put it on there like so. I'm just putting it around the outside. I'm not putting it where the bolts go, because the bolts aren't holding back any fluid. Set that dude on there like so. And then, my gasket stuff is stopped up. Come on, little buddy. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. There we go. Oh yeah. Come out in a ball of fire. Way to go. All right. And put a little on this guy. I got to get this. There's a chunk. There's a little hard piece. Just going to deposit him on top of the, what's that called? Master cylinder. And let him sit there. So, you know, I just said you can do it. Made me think. I went to see Rob Snyder one time. at a comedy club in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I don't know, it was a little bit before the show. They canceled. It was for my birthday, which was actually, his show was on the day of my birthday. But for some reason he had to cancel. You know, this was after COVID, but I don't know what the whole story was. You know, but I didn't get to see him. But anyway, we went ahead and decided that we would go to the show that they were having, which was greatly discounted because, you know, Rob Snyder wasn't going to be there. And it was an okay show, other than, you know, it's like an hour drive from my house, and it was snowing and sleeting and icy. So it took forever to get there because it was nasty, and, you know, we're rednecks. We don't give a shit about snow and sleet and ice. We just lock it in and go. And anyway, we get to Indy, and luckily enough, the comedy club still had their show, but our plan was for my birthday to go to a restaurant called Dick's Last Resort, and they were closed because of the weather. So we went to another restaurant. Thought, oh, this will be a cool one to go to. We walked like 3 blocks to this restaurant, and they were closed for the weather too. And then we went to another restaurant, and it was a really, really fancy restaurant, way out of my league anyway. But it had tables only in the bar area. And we had my youngest daughter with me, and she was 19. I don't think she was turned 19 yet. She was 18. So yeah, we couldn't do that. And so I'm trying to fight this on there. There we go. But anyway, so we ended up eating at the comedy club. They had like finger food type stuff, and, you know, nothing fancy by no means or other, but it was, you know, cost a lot more than it would in a regular place. We should have just went to McDonald's in hindsight, because, you know, that was about the quality we got out of it. But anyway, and then the comedians that we had, we're all local people. Well, I don't want to say all local people. Most of them were local people, and they were okay. They did a good job. I chuckled a couple times, but I can tell you right now, they were no Rob Snyder. I'd like to have seen him, but anyway, maybe another time. So, all right, I'm gonna let that set up for just a little bit, and then I'll add the rest of my water. All right, we should be good and set up. And I'm gonna grab my antifreeze from over there. Finish topping it off. After I get it topped off, because this is the motor it is, and it tends to have little air pockets in it because the way the radiator and everything runs, I'm gonna let it set a little bit after I get it topped off, and before I run it, and make sure that it gets everything bubbled up, and then I'll run it, and then I'll get some more bubbles out of it, and all that good stuff. But whoop, whoop, whoop. She's full. So yeah, now on to another task. So there we are, not quite 230. The gauge looks like it needs clean too, man. Maybe that almost looks like it's inside the gauge. Like it's got some moisture in it too. Oh man. Oil pressure set on about 20 pounds with it setting up about 230. My tack does not work yet. You can see this car's only got 65,029 actual miles on it. I don't know how many miles I've put on it so far, but not very many. I can look and see what it had when I got it. The clock doesn't work. I need to fix that too. My radio doesn't work, and I was just kind of sitting here waiting to see if see what the temperature was going to do, if she's going to continue to creep on up, sitting there idling, or if she would decide that she was going to go down. It's hot as balls sitting in here right now, I'll tell you that. But so yeah, she's just hanging in there about 230. 230 is a bit toasty. You know, one of the things I really loved about this car when I bought it, so when I bought it, it did not run. The guy's like, I don't know what's wrong with it, it won't run. It ran when I bought it. You know, you always get those. It ran when I bought it. So, you know, it's a 350 Chevy. It may be the most reliable motor ever made. You could argue that, and like the 302 Ford. I mean, those are just two that have lasted throughout. They lasted forever. So, yeah, I wasn't worried about the motor. So, I'm still not worried about the motor, even though she's hovering about 230. I've seen plenty of Chevys, you know, get plenty of temperature on that. They got, she's got oil pressure, you know, hovering around 230. I mean, a lot of newer than this cars, the mid 80s, Camaros and Corvettes and such, they liked 220. That's where they ran at, and you know, so this one I wanted to run cooler than that, and it will get there, but it's going to take some work, and that'll probably end up being a video, because I will start off, I'll flush her out, and I'll get my little bit of pieces. I'll change my thermostat, get that dude opening up a little earlier, and I might get a high flow, because, you know, why not? If you're gonna buy one, you might as well buy one that's high flow, because it just sounds better. And you know, I'll start on that. And when I get the heater core separated out, which I could have already done, I know you're gonna gripe at me, I'll eventually pull it out. I don't think it's going to be an easy find. I kind of Googled around a little bit and wasn't finding one, so I'll look at it, measure it, and see if I can't find something that's pretty close, and find something to make it work, because that's what I do. But anyway, all right, I've rambled on long enough. She's holding right there at 230. She's not coming down, so all right, work to do. Okay, we're gonna fire her up. I think she's full. See what's what. That wasn't too shabby. 2 pumps, she fires up. There's something else I got to work on. I'd really like to have that tack working. We'll get there. Probably to get out and check for leaks. I don't know, if it blows one off, I'll know for sure, right? Kind of hot and tired again. Woo! You ever have a vacuum gauge in a car? I don't want to say it was real common. Avanti's had them because some of them had superchargers on them back in the day. So yeah, they'd have vacuum and boost, so you kind of see how much pressure it was getting, I assume, is the whole concept of it. But could be wrong. Maybe it's just a luxury item. But I know Chevy for a few years ran a vacuum gauge, and it was considered a fuel economy dealio. You could had, like, you know, red, yellow, and green, and if you stayed in the green, you were getting good economy because your foot wasn't buried in the carburetor. If you were in the red, you were getting bad economy. So it was kind of interesting. But I think I'm going to shut this dude off right here, and I'm going to double check my water since it ran for a second, and then I'll fire it back up and let her warm up. Alright, fired back up. Let her run and see how warm she gets. So I put a 160-degree high flow thermostat in it. You can't do that with a lot of new cars. Their computer system wants that, 195 degree plus temperature. A lot of mid-80s cars wanted, pretty close to 220. They considered it better emissions, and when your car was colder from a low degree thermostat, the computer did weird stuff because, it was trying to compensate for the cold weather or the engine not warming up. But this here, with no computer system on it, 160 should do me just fine. So a thermostat, that number, that's when it starts opening. Some people don't realize that. That's when it starts opening. And it's really not fully open till almost 15 degrees after that. So, if you get a 180, your car could run 195 if it requires that thermostat to be fully open to stay that temperature. You get a 195, it could require 210, so on and so forth. So keep that in mind when you're messing with stuff and you see you got a little bit of an overheat issue or something that maybe it's not an overheat issue at all. Maybe that's just where your thermostat's fully open at. So anyway, I'm gonna let this dude sit here and run and keep an eye on this temperature. You guys don't need to watch all that, so we'll see what happens. Well, that seems to be its happy spot, sitting in the garage. So I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to spray down this window and let this dude heat soak, is what you call it, because she's hot. Shut her off, water quits flowing, it'll get hotter. Then we'll start it up, see where she's at, and see how quick she drops down, if she drops down, and all that good kind of stuff. And that'll give me time to lube on this window a little bit. So when I was sitting here in the car, I flipped the lever and I can see the dome light dim, which tells me that the motor's wanting to go, the switch is wanting to work, and the window just might be stuck. So, after seeing that piece rusted in two there, I bet the window is kind of rusty, crusty, and let me see if I can get it broke loose, cleaned up, and maybe we'll get lucky and it'll start working. So, anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll let her heat soak. So the heat came right back down. Hopefully it's good. I'm gonna mess this window for a few minutes. I got the schematic out, kind of looking at it because I was curious. I found the plug. The plug does not have a ground on it, so it's got a ground that runs straight to the window motor. So I'm gonna check that dude out, and I've got everything lubed up in there real good. If I can get that window down, I'll definitely take this thing for a drive and bring you along with me. If I don't get that window down, I'll probably definitely take this thing for a drive and bring you along with me. But I want to give it a try first. I ought to set the camera up, but I don't know if I will. I'm just going to clean connectors and all that kind of stuff, and see if I can track this ground wire down and make sure he's just not rusted up and he's in a good spot. And it's going to be a real pain in the butt, and I'll be working on a hole in a door, so there's not really much to see. But that ground on this car is huge because it's all fiberglass. So, doors on a normal car, you could ground to the door somewhere. This thing's got to have a wire coming back, and that wire could break anywhere. And that's just one extra wire that could mess up. So, and I could also, it would take a lot of wire, but I could try hot wiring it. These motors are, they call it dual polarity. I think's how they say that. So basically you got 2 wires going into the motor and a ground wire. The ground wire is always the ground wire. The 2 wires going into the motor can switch. One of them can be positive one time and one can be negative, and that will make your window go up. And then the next time, this one's negative and this one's positive, that'll make your window go down. So I'm not sure which way's which. Doesn't really matter to me, but I mean, it would when it was all done and wired up. But as far as if I wanted to try to hot wire the window motor to see if I can make it work, it wouldn't matter. So anyway, I'll dig into it just for a second here and see if I can come up with anything. And if it gets exciting, I'll bring you back in. I don't know if you guys like being able to see the person driving. I would rather see where the person driving is going. But I don't know if you can see it at the moment because of the glare. But I'm hoping that maybe you'll be able to see the gauges some, you know, as I'm cruising along. We'll find out. I couldn't get that window to go down. I'm really gonna hate it if I got to put a motor in that, because I hate doing door windows. I really do. It's like one of my all-time least favorite things to do. Man, my windshield is filthy. So we will shoot for a lap around the block, I think. What I call the block. So I'm going to go, let me think here, what's the best way if I have issues? So I'm going to go this way first. I still hear that brake just a little bit. It may actually be the hub on the vacuum plate, but it's not much, so I am leaving it alone. She's holding pretty steady below 190 so far. This little metropolis used to have a store. It does not anymore. Still got church though. coast through here. Somebody's had this steering wheel off at one point or another because it's just a little off for straight. That coast did pull her up above 190. See what she does now. You know, that's nice that it come up like that. Now we'll see if it goes back down. With all that coast, the radiator was getting cooled off faster than the block was getting cooled off because the water pump's not turning. So let's just see. I still don't think she should have hit 190, but concerned about 190. It's over 230 that gets on to me a little bit. And it's not an obnoxiously hot day. I mean, it's warm out, but it's, I don't know, right around 90. I mean, cars coming. I could have went. I got plenty of room, but this kind of simulates a little bit of stop and go driving a little better. To see what she does. Chrysler just passed us. He had a big number 3 plate on there. Huge NASCAR fan. I used to watch it quite a bit. I liked Bobby Labonte real well. For a good while, but I worked in a shop and they all watch NASCAR all the time, and I did not watch NASCAR much. So I sat down one day and I watched a race, and I'm like, I don't know who it is, but I like number 18. I'm like, oh, that's Bobby Labonte. Okay, that's who I'm rooting for from now on. And you know, if you've ever noticed, I wear a lot of Bengals gear, so I'm pretty loyal. Rooting for Bobby Labonte, and if he'd drive today, I'd root for him today. I might not watch the race, but I'd root for him. And yeah, because I mean, I've been a Bengals fan since I was a little kid, and my parents, none of them, none of my uncles, nothing were big football fans at all, or definitely Bengal fans. I always loved football for some reason or another, and I picked the Bengals out when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. So the era we lived in, more people were Chicago fans. I'm in Indiana, but that was before the Indianapolis Colts come to town. So I become a Bengals fan, and you know, if you know anything about football, you know we haven't had a lot of good years. We've had a few good years, but no great years, in my kind of opinion, because we've never won the Super Bowl. But anyway, we've had some pretty good years. But the 90s was rough. That's a rough time to be a Bengals fan. I'll be wearing Bengals gear. He's like, I don't care. So we went there, and I think the Colts was playing the Dolphins. I'm in full Bengal gear, and again, because it's Sunday, and I walk up into the stands, and I'm looking for my seat. He stopped to get him a cold beverage, and somebody said, "Hey, you're in the wrong stadium." I took a long look all the way around, looked at the whole stadium, turned back around, looked him right in the eye, and said, "Son of a bitch." But and we both just laughed. Well, I thought it was pretty funny. I got on the Jumbotron that day because I know they were talking about me. They put me on the Jumbotron. You know, the announcers. I might have been on TV. Who knows? Yeah, they were going, what the heck's going on here? He took a wrong turn. But anyway. So I'm still creeping up just a smidge. I'm a little above 190. It's not exactly where I want to be at. I felt like that radiator should have flowed water a little better than it did. So that could be my issue and what I have to address. And if I do that, then you will see how I put an aluminum radiator in a 77 Avanti, because that's what I'll go to. I won't buy a stock one. You know, it's not. I always said I'm not building a showpiece. I want a driver, and if you want a driver, then you do the things to it that make it drive and run better, and so you don't have any issues out of it. And aluminum radiator is just far superior to these stock radiators. Even a new old stock radiator or a brand new radiator, that aluminum just cools way better. So I don't know. I'm undecided yet. I'll pull in the driveway, just let it sit there and idle and see if it creeps up or down. And that'll help me decide what I'm doing next. Maybe as it runs, it'll get some of that crap out of the system, and maybe add a big air pocket in it. And now I'm a little bit low on fluid. I could be. It shouldn't have, but it could have. Bet you guys get tired of hearing me talk. I got past the sheriff's house to do that. I did it right in front of that cranky old woman's house, and she'll probably be complaining. She'll talk to him. I don't know if she knows I got this yet or not, if she knows it's me. But so here's another good neighbor. Let's see what she does sitting here now. Can you see that? Be hard to tell in that kind of mode. She creeped down a little bit. I'm probably gonna have to put a radiator in it. I could drop a little bit more money buying some stuff you put in it to help kind of flush it out and going that route with it. a chemical and flush it out again. There's some additives you can get that's supposed to help it cool, that actually do kind of help, but I don't know if they'll help this problem, because I just think my radiator's plugged up a little bit. And so if I don't get anything, about the only other thing I could think to do is I could pull the radiator out, set it so both hoses are up, and then in the past there's been a couple of radiators I've used this acid on. It's actually for house drains and such, but it's pretty potent stuff. It's a lot of gunk up. I've been about 50-50 successful on it, but it's about $30 a gallon. So you buy $30 for a gallon of that, and do antifreeze, and so that'd be $25. There's $55. Plus pull it out. Probably less than $200. Let's go find a good used one. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Letting the electric fan run, it's going to cool the radiator down, start the car up, let it circulate a minute, repeat. That's kind of the bonus of an electric fan, is the car doesn't have to be running for it to run, so you can kind of cool a big section of water, feed it to the block, and cool the block down a little faster. But it could have issues, and that could be another issue. My electric fan just might not be big enough. I could, before I do any of that, I could take that electric fan off for free and bolt on the clutch fan for free, and take it out then and see if that big old clutch fan just moves more air and makes it work better. But I really think I plugged my radiator up. So, oh well. Live and learn, right? I need a new one of those too. Got one in your pocket? Outside of that, everything else looks okay.